This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. I have to cover this article because there's a couple mainstream media outlets talking about how Americans are losing faith that inflation will return to normal and the Fed is terrified. That's the headline on this CNN article. And you might say, well, what is it about? What's the point of it? Well, the article is pretty much saying that because people are losing faith that inflation will eventually go back to normal, and that faith is eroding that life is going to go back to normal in this country, the Fed is panicking because apparently it'll be our fault because we don't have faith in what the Fed is doing. It's going to be our fault when prices continue to go up and we all end up broke, homeless, repossessed, have things repossessed from us because nobody can pay their bills, and eventually evicted. It'll be our fault. So I'm going to read this article to you in a second. I want people to know my other channel. I have a brand new channel. Most people aren't subscribed to it yet. So please do me a favor, pause the video and subscribe to it now, or do both at the same time. It's called The Call for Vengeance. What I have to do on those channels to build them out, for those of you that are new to all this, is I have to put up silly content. And once I get 4,000 watch hours, it gets reviewed by human beings at YouTube. The majority of stuff goes through an algorithm, except when you first start a channel. This way they can decide. So in other words, if I had a channel like with normal content that I do on it, once it gets reviewed by a human at 4,000 hours, which just takes a while to get to, they'll just reject the channel and shut it down. So I have to do all this like crazy stuff, like play video games, read articles. So today I'm reading an article on how you could be a better human being. I found an article out there that came up in the Google search, and it's pretty hilarious. It's pretty hilarious from the standpoint of all the stuff in there that this person is saying is exactly what a zombie would say. So that video is up over there, and I need your help on that channel building it out. So please do me that favor and sub now. Don't mind the content over there. It's just temporary. Once I get to 4,000 watch hours, which does take a couple of weeks to do, but I'm trying to stay in this fight and battle to get truth out. So I hope you guys will fight with me and sub to the channels and watch the videos if you have time to do that. That is linked below. Again, it's called The Call for Vengeance. So let's get into this insane article. And of course we know it's insane because it's from CNN. So a worrisome sign for the Federal Reserve is starting to emerge. The Fed keeps a close eye on several risks that could make its job of taming inflation even more difficult, such as red-hot consumer demand keeping some upward pressure on prices and the possible effects of geopolitical tensions in the Middle East on oil prices. I love how they have these built-in excuses, because if you actually go out and you talk to somebody about inflation and how the government is trying to make us all broke, they have the government's already put through mind control this wall in place where they explain to you, these zombies will explain to you why things are expensive, why eggs are twice the price, and they think that the answer they're giving is the correct scientific answer, when the real scientific answer is the whole purpose of this is to make you go broke, is to destroy the middle class, and that everyone's going to live in poverty while they live in complete riches. But not only that, they'll have complete control over your food supply, your water supply, and everything else. That is the whole point. They do this by design, and then they blame it on these boogeymen. Oh, there's conflict in Ukraine, so that should affect the prices of food in America. Huh? Oh, this is going on over in Timbuktu. That should affect the price of this in America. People just believe it and go along with it. They are sabotaging not only our lives, they're sabotaging our economy and sabotaging the value of a dollar so that they can bring in a digital currency. And of course, as they always do, as I'm about to read to you, they're going to blame it on you. That's right, you. Now they're telling you that the reason that the Fed is panicking, not because it's 20 bucks for eggs, they're panicking because you don't have faith in them while they raise inflation over and over again. Because what's happening is they're constantly spiking inflation, they're making it so nobody could buy a house, et cetera, et cetera. And they are mad and upset because you don't believe in them. So by you not believing in them, it's going to make it worse. They're going to have to spike it even more. Huh? Oh, yeah, exactly. And people read this crap and actually believe it. It's very simple. They are trying to ruin your life. They want to control your life. The only way they can control your every move in your life is by destroying everything and bringing in a whole new infrastructure, which will be a digital governance, which means that all the money that you own, or whatever, however rich you are, however poor you are, will mean nothing. And you'll all start at zero. You'll have a fresh reset in your bank account of 500 whatevers, tokens they'll probably call them. And they'll just monitor and track everything you do and how you're allowed to spend it and where you're allowed to go. And of course, this is for our best interest because they're psychopaths. So the article says the U.S. Central Bank also pays close attention to whether Americans still have faith inflation will eventually return to normal. That faith seems to be eroded. Do you think? I mean, what sucker is out there who has faith in this government? Can somebody show me one of these people? Oh, right. They're called libs. They walk around with blue hair and glasses, and their only concern is their feelings and you accepting their pronouns. Other than that, they don't seem to care because most of the money they have is coming out of our tax money, people who actually work and, try to live a normal life. So, they're the only people that seem to have faith in the Federal Reserve, the sickest, most psychotic people, the same people who suck the Titanic, even though it was the other ship that really sucked. So the University of Michigan's latest consumer survey released Friday showed that Americans' long-run inflation expectations rose to 3.2% this month, the highest level since 2011. And those perceptions could continue to get worse the longer it takes the Fed to get inflation back to its 2% target. Fed officials don't expect inflation to reach 2% until 2026, according to their latest economic projections. If there's one thing that would make the Fed quake in its boots, it would be worsening inflation expectations. So our expectations will make this all worse. It's the fact that we're all upset and fearful that we're paying more money for everything and that we're all suffering as far as how much money's in our bank accounts or in our pockets to just get gas at this point. Because we're all feeling that, the Fed's shaking in their boots because you're not complying and saying everything's going to be fine. Right? It's the old adage, right? They want to hit you in the back of the neck with a billy club, and then they want you to go, it's fine, it's great. How is anybody complaining about this? Hit me again, right between the eyes. Come on, hit me with a bat, put barbed wire on it. Yep, everything's great, Fed. Yep, that's how they want you to respond to the constant abuse that they're causing in our lives. Yeah, pretty unbelievable, right? So, again, it says, if there's one thing making the Fed shake in its boots, it would be worsening inflation expectations. Quote, if we find that consumers or businesses are really starting to feel like that long-term level of inflation is creeping up, if that's their expectation, we've got to act and we've got to get that under control. So in other words, by acting to get your expectations under control, they need to create better mind control. That's all that they're saying, is they need to convince you and persuade you through mind control techniques like putting talking heads on the TV to tell you that everything's going to be okay while they taser you in your nutsack. Everything's fine. Yeah. And these idiots will regurgitate this. And when you complain out in public about the fact that your grocery bill is doubled, the zombies out there who are complying will say, hey, you got to stop complaining that you're paying double for your groceries. You're being selfish. You're being a bad person, and you're only making it worse. We all need to just accept it and go along with it. As long as we have our phones, as long as we could do just completely pointless stuff day in and day out and stay completely distracted and agree with things like castrating kids, then everything's going to be fine, okay? So stop complaining about the fact your grocery bill's doubled and you could barely live and you could barely turn your heat on. That's not by design. It's called inflation, folks. This happens all the time and it needs to happen. Oh, no, it doesn't. It doesn't need to happen at all. The destruction of the middle class is the goal here, folks. And by middle class, some of you might say, well, I don't care because I'm not in the middle class. The destruction of the middle class pretty much means that everybody's broke and everything in this system that we live in is destroyed, which we could all look at and say, well, this system sucks. Well, it's going to be a lot worse, okay? You're going to be living off rations, food rations, water rations, electricity rations. You're going to live the way a prisoner in a jail cell lives. The only difference is that there's not going to be bars in front of your face, but there's going to be invisible bars because you're not going to be allowed to leave your home because they're going to tell you it affects the climate, so you have to stay inside. It's going to be hell on earth. And psychologically, people are going to lose their minds without even realizing it because they're going to turn the TV on and they're going to say, everything's hunky-dory. If you're having mental health problems, that's because you're not being a nice enough person and you aren't accepting this and you're listening to too many conspiracies about how we're trying to control and ruin your life. Oh, okay, I better do this. And blow their brains out. Anyway, I can't say that. So, he goes on to say, if Americans lose faith that inflation could ever return to normal, that would prompt the Fed to tighten monetary policy even more, either by raising interest rates or keeping them elevated for much longer than expected. The Fed's benchmark lending rate is currently at a 22-year high, and investors already expect the central bank to keep rates higher for longer. Quote, I worked at the Fed for 6 years, and if inflation expectations are drifting higher and they're not under control, the Fed absolutely will act. That is the one thing that gives them trouble sleeping at night. Yeah, Yeah, I'm sure the Fed have trouble sleeping at night. I mean, we would all think that they'd have trouble sleeping at night because they're so wicked, and probably every single person at the Fed is doing some type of disgusting act with a child and drinking blood, etc. And you would think that would keep them up at night, but it doesn't. So, right, we're supposed to believe that the Fed is up at night because they care so much about us, right? This same government that tried to poison everybody and still is trying to poison everybody. They care so much about us. They can't sleep at night. Well, how about this? Lower the rates. Stop making everything so expensive. Oh, that's not an option because there's conflict over in the Middle East. Oh, and that affects us how? Oh, we have food shortages because there's not wheat coming from Ukraine. Huh? And people just believe this stuff, and then they go regurgitate it like the idiots that they are. It's unbelievable. Yeah, the Fed can't sleep at night. They can't sleep at night. If any of them can't sleep at night, it's because they look in the mirror. When they look back, they see a reptilian right in the mirror. Right? And by the way, did you guys like the fact that I did that video on Mountain Dew? If you haven't seen it, check it out. They put a reptilian Wikipedia fact check under the video. I mean, that's how insane this is. They put it under the video because I put the word in the title. They actually have a fact check on reptilians. That's how insane censorship and control of information is getting, that they can't even laugh off that kind of stuff and be like, oh, these idiots believe in reptilian. They're all crazy people. They literally have to put a wall protection up even against that. That's how bad this has gotten. Anyway, so these demons can't sleep at night, we're supposed to believe. And they say they don't lose sleep over recessions because they come and go. But they do lose sleep over long-term inflation expectations drifting higher. Yeah, I'm sure. It's unclear if inflation expectations will continue to worsen. And the Fed looks at a broad range of surveys. The Fed specifically focuses on long-run inflation expectations. During his most recent meeting presser earlier this month, after officials voted to hold rates steady, Powell said longer-term inflation expectations appear to remain well anchored. But the clock is ticking. Inflation remains well above 2%, and some economists believe the last mile of the Fed's inflation might be the most difficult. That's because the next couple of spikes here are really going to make a lot of people in this country completely broke. Now, this is all done by design, and that's why Biden and Kamala Harris, like I've said a million times, they put these people in there on purpose, and they're deliberately acting the way that they're acting so that this looks believable to you, so that you sit there and you go, oh, well, if these idiots weren't in power, we wouldn't all be going broke and our country wouldn't be going belly up. They're in power so that you believe it, and then you blame Democrats who voted for them. When your vote don't count, when these people are put in these positions, and the only way to destroy this country is to make you believe that it's being destroyed by incompetency, when it's being destroyed by wickedness. That's what's destroying this country. So the article just goes on to talk about the IRS even announcing new income tax brackets, which I won't even get into. Well, I'll read you a little paragraph of that. If you are someone who likes to plan ahead on your taxes, the IRS this week released the new inflation-adjusted income tax brackets. So that's their way of saying, we're trying to help you with your taxes. So the deduction will decrease from $14,600 up from $13,850. That's so kind of them. And where's our tax money going for? When are we going to come forward and just, we should uprise and we should say, we want, they want a receipt of every drop of urine that comes out of your body. Literally, they're like, everything you buy and everything here, we want accounted for in your taxes. Well, why don't the citizens say, we want every dollar spent from each household, we want to know what it goes to and where, because it's our money. And they treat it like it's not our money, that it's their money, right? And our money is supposed to fund our infrastructure. It's not supposed to fund illegal trafficking in Ukraine, which is what it's going towards, okay? It makes it so that we're inadvertently responsible for a lot of the destruction going on in the world. But they'll never be held accountable. So anyway, folks, the Federal Reserve can't sleep. They're up all night. Some of you might be up at night saying, wow, I don't know how I'm going to pay my next grocery bill. How am I going to get food for my kids? Well, they're up at night because they care so much about you. No, actually, they're up at night because around 3 o'clock in the morning, the Fed gets together and meets. Yeah. And what they do is they drink a lot of blood and sacrifice a lot of humans. And of course, summon a lot of spirits around 3 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, I do believe that they're up in the middle of the night. Most of these demons are, because that's when they do most of their rituals while everybody else is asleep. But of course, they're up because they care so much about us. That's why they keep raising interest rates, and that's why everything keeps going up in price. And then they tell us it's because of the price of oil in Timbuktu, or it's because this is going on over there, or the wheat in Ukraine is so expensive. I mean, give me a break. And the worst part of all of it is the suckers out there who regurgitate this stuff. Because I'm sure you've come across them, and then they repeat it. They're like, hey, yeah, did you hear? That's why. Stop complaining about the prices and stuff. It's because of this. It's because of that. You know, it's not because of Biden. It's not because of Democrats. And really, it's because of all of these criminals, Republican and Democrat, who sit in these buildings and act as if they're serving the people, when in fact, what they're trying to do is kill us, control us, and destroy our way of life. And eventually, of course, that means imprisonment. And that's what this is all about. A reminder, like I said earlier in the video, please sub to my backup channel, A Call for Vengeance. If you didn't do it then, please, this is the end of the video, so click it now, stop the video now, and click the link below. Please, I appreciate it if you do that. I'm trying to build that channel out. I've, a couple, not really funny, but I'm just joking around videos over there. I need people to watch them so I can get those channels built out because, again, as you see, I constantly get strikes. I even got some type of a warning strike on a post. I don't know if you guys noticed, I put up community posts when I'm letting people know about a video that's up on the website or a video on another channel, et cetera, et cetera. So I use the community tab. Never had this happen. I put up a post where I literally just mentioned a video that's on the website. There's no information in it. It just says fake news. And there's a picture, though, and I guess the picture triggered the algorithm because it's the fakest news story you'll ever see. Because everything that's going on over there, which I can't even say anymore in Bagelville, it is so scripted and staged. It's hilarious at this point. They're literally making propaganda to justify blowing up you-know-what buildings. So can't even say it because it's that sensitive of a topic. And that's how scared they are of truth. But I got the truth over on the website, uprisingrevival.com. So definitely check it out if you haven't yet. It's only $2.99 a month. It's well worth the $2.99 a month. You could be on there day and night learning. It's not just about my uncensored exclusive content. You could share stuff in the forum, interact with other like-minded people, and you could read just a lot of the real stuff going on in the world and educate yourself. So definitely check it out if you haven't. I thank everyone for being here. Appreciate you all. God bless you as always, and your families.